Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. What is it where we are at a point in society today where we glorify violence to the point where a mass school shooter can be treated as a hero simply for turning himself in, coddled as an internet star simply for turning himself in? In no world do I want to live in where police are shaking the hands of a school shooter when they turn themselves in. But this is exactly what happened in Dallas. And to me, it's one of the most eye-popping pieces of video that I have ever seen. This 17-year-old Tracy Denard Haynes is accused of shooting up Wilmer-Hutchins High School south of Dallas, shooting 4 people. Thankfully, by the grace of God, those 4 people are going to live. And this, folks, was the scene outside the Dallas County Jail. Look at what he's doing here. This scene outside the Dallas County Jail, to me, is literally an outrage. Okay, and I want to show it to you here, as we look at this video. Here we go. This is them coming to police and shaking hands.
Come on, Tracy. You gotta get go. You gotta go.
How are you shaking the hands of police officers? How are police officers shaking the hands of this suspect back? One of the police officers kindly says, "I got him. Don't worry about him. It's all good." Meanwhile, the mother, that's her right there, is filming the whole thing as if it is their internet moment. I've got a real problem with this. Now, I understand you're a mom, you're concerned about your kid. I understand you're a dad, you're concerned about your kid who just is now accused of shooting 4 people and is going to go into the Dallas County Jail. But cops can't be shaking a mass shooter's hands. You can't have moms videotaping this as if it's an internet moment when literally it's your kid being put in the back of a cruiser. This is not something you want in the Easter scrapbook, okay? So again, we're glorifying violence. This at the same time, just up the street from this in Frisco, Texas, you've got that Carmelo Anthony character, raises nearly $500,000, and then his family is moving into a $900,000 house. GoFundMe has nearly $500,000, and they buy a new SUV. At least these are the allegations. How do we get to this point? You don't profit off of murder. Carmelo Anthony's the one who, a black kid, stabs a white kid in the heart. The white kid dies in the arms of his twin brother at a track meet. Violence is now out of control in our society today. So I'm going to talk about this. We're going to play the whole video. I want you to listen to all of it. I want you to listen to the dad's instructions to his son. I mean, I guess it's good advice before you go to prison. But again, it's eye-opening advice before you go into prison. But we're going to talk about that as we get rolling here. Before we do, I want to tell you about my friends over at Energized Health, energizedhealth.com/grant. This is a mind, body, soul program that has to do with getting yourself hydrated at an intercellular level. It's not just pounding water. There's science behind how you get your cells hydrated. And what comes from that is nothing short of miraculous. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks, 88-day program that kept it off. Cholesterol down, testosterone up, visceral fat down, muscle mass up, all of my things going in the right directions, okay? I owe it to Energized Health. So if you want to take your life back, get with energizedhealth.com. They've got a money-back guarantee, thousands of testimonials. Just go on the website and find somebody that looks like you. Listen to their testimonial. I promise you they can help you. Energizedhealth.com. That's energizedhealth.com. All right, with that, folks, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back. To me, all of this stuff is pretty darn crazy that we live in a situation where you can have cops. Dallas Independent School District cops is what it appears, with Texas State Troopers, and I think there's the Dallas Police cop there. This school district, remember, has their own police department in Dallas. Many school districts do. So what I want to do is play this entire video for you, okay? And let you see the video. Now, why am I having so much problems here? It's been a day, folks. I'm just going to tell you, it has been a day. This is the full video.
You good. He got you. You're good, man.
Hey, what's up? You're good, man? Hey, what's up? Is that what you say to a mass shooter? I understand you have to show respect to everyone, including criminals, okay? And when I say show respect, you treat them like humans. You don't treat them like animals, even though many of them are animals. I'm not saying that's what this kid is, but he shot 4 kids. He didn't kill any of them. He's troubled someplace along the way. And yet he shows up here to shake the hands of officers. This kid is literally lost to the point where you think what you need to do is kill people over a dispute, if that's what it was, or God forbid, shoot random people. We still don't know a motive yet. But again, watch here as he shakes the hands of officers.
It's dangerous. Come on, Tracy. You got to get go.
Stop. They're trying to get the media out of your face.
I got him.
Yeah, you good.
I got him, he says. I got him. Now, what I want you to see here is as they cross the street, that's the Dallas County Jail in the background. That's the mom, I assume, that is videotaping the entire thing. As I mentioned, I'm not sure this is the event you want to make famous, but they were so ready for their social media moment of him turning himself in, the cops there, the police with the lights on. It was like made-for-TV movie. All of it leads me to believe we're glorifying this kind of thing. They should have met at the police station, brought him in. Nobody should have been there. Now I want you to listen. The mom prays and the dad gives some hell of advice.
You keep him
And they
safe.
stay up talking.
You keep him
Don't talk to
protected,
nobody.
Father, y'all. You keep your mouth
They
closed.
come talk to you. They want to talk to your attorney. You understand?
Thank you.
When they send them little old snitches and not to talk to you, don't talk to nobody.
Keep
I
him
mean
safe,
that,
Lord.
son.
Father God, right now, in your name, I'm asking you to keep him safe. Keep him protected, Father God. Keep him with nothing of you, Father God. Nothing covers him. Nothing touches him, Father God. Keep his
So
daddy
I
safe,
understand
Father God. Keep his
you
sister
wanting
safe,
to
Father
pray
God.
for your
Keep all
son.
these kids, Father God, safe.
But the father then given the advice of when these little bitch-ass snitches come in, when the little bitch-ass snitches come in, you don't talk to nobody. I mean, I guess that's good advice. Tell them you want your lawyer. Keep your mouth shut. All good advice going into prison. And if you hear in the back, he said, I've been there. So again, this is the cycle of violence that we see in our inner cities today. Now, no mainstream media coverage of this story outside of the local Dallas market. You see this on CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News? Probably not. You probably heard the original story when it first came out, a shooting at a Dallas area high school, and then poof, it went away. Why did poof it go away? Poof, it went away because it was a black kid shooting black kids, which happens to be the epidemic that faces our young people in America today. Black on black crime is an epidemic. Far too many of our young black teens are dying at the hands of other black teens. You could throw Hispanics into that mix as well. Mainstream media doesn't want to cover that. They would rather hope that my son is responsible for this. God forbid he ever does something like this. No, he can't. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. But that's what they want. They want an NRA Life Members kid going in and shooting up the place. Then it's a story for them. They wanted a rich, fancy white suburb where the white kids can die. I don't think they care about the black kids. I really don't. They don't cover inner city crime in Chicago and Detroit and, quite frankly, downtown Dallas. There's a shooting on Main Street almost every weekend in downtown Dallas. Nobody even covers it. Why? Because it's minority on minority crime. So the mainstream media is absent here. The family here thinks, well, we're going to be internet stars and we'll capture this all on video. To me, it is totally, totally outrageous. Now, you want to know how bad it has gotten as far as the just the coldness towards violence, that they're immune to it, these kids, that somehow they just don't feel it anymore. These are two girls in the Wilmer-Hutchins school that were videotaping themselves during class fooling around when the gunshots start. Take a listen to this.
Like that. That's a real gun.
Get in.
So those kids have no reaction to gunshots. Just those gunshots. I'm going to tell you, folks, you've got to train your children. You've got to train your children so they are not just cold to the fact that there's gunshots outside their classroom. It'll get them killed. There has to be a reaction, an evasive reaction. Now, if you're in a classroom and you can't get out of that classroom and away from the gunshots, well, then you've got to bar the door, lock the door. And I like the idea that the teacher turned off the lights to make it less attractive for the shooter to come into that classroom, providing the door is locked. Get away from the door. Quite possibly someone should take up a defensive position to hit the kid over the head with a chair if somebody comes through the door, because they're going to be dead. All this needs to be planned and prepared for. Now, I've done this with my kid, and I've probably given him anxiety because of it. But would I rather him have some anxiety and be able to get out alive? Or am I too concerned about, I don't want to scare my kid about the real world? Guess what? The real world is real. They call it the real world for a reason. And it'll jump up and bite you in the ass, and sometimes some people will die because of it. Again, watch this.
Like that. That's a real gun.
Is that a real gun? She says. Yes, that's a real gun. And you want to see how it went down? This is the surveillance video of the shooting. They're pointing at the shooter. He walks in one way. I believe he fires the gun there. Then he comes back into the hall, shoots two others, and I think he knows who he's going after here. Spares that kid his life, quite frankly. I mean, why he didn't shoot to kill, I have no idea. Or was he shooting to kill? I don't know. A teacher, I actually believe, is a hero. The shooter encounters a teacher later on. The teacher talks the kid into leaving the school. Just get out of here. Don't shoot anybody else. Leave. And the reality is, if a shooter has the drop on you, it's going to be very difficult to tackle that. If you can think you can reason with them, that's often very hard to do. But if you think you can and you get that person out of the school, well, then you save lives. And I applaud the teacher's actions there. Now, DISD says, hey, our policies didn't fail. He didn't come in through the school during the normal enter and exit times, meaning before and after school. He came in a side door at 1:03 in the afternoon. Your policies didn't work. If you've got a side door that a gunman can walk through, there's something wrong with your policies. And this is what I tell schools all the time. Now, if you're a mom, you better believe you're upset about this. I don't blame this mom for what she's thinking here.
And I'm thinking about taking them out and putting them in homeschool. Because it's something, I can't keep going through this as a parent. I'm telling you, it's very frightening to ever think about losing your child and your kids. This is terrible. But they over there now, thank God they standing, but my heart goes out to the parents that had to deal with this tragedy today.
Yeah, and a tragedy it is. To the point where, thankfully, praise Jesus, as we head into Easter Sunday, that 4 kids are alive today with, and get this, non-life-threatening injuries. Who gets shot with non-life-threatening injuries? And it looks like when you look at the The picture that I saw of this kid, it looks like he had an extended magazine on the firearm. So that's the kind of thing that will get multiple people killed. Thankfully, here were only 4. Now, when this happened to get turned in, when he turned himself in, it was a group in Dallas that basically specializes in trying to prevent youth violence. They facilitated the turning in of this Tracy Denard Haynes Jr. This is the founder of that organization.
Here in Dallas, who have been working for 27 years to disrupt the trends of violence and poverty in urban communities. You know us, you've seen us out. We have an amazing team that do that. But let me say this, man. First of all, I want to send my prayers to the families of those who have been affected by the recent tragedy that happened at Wilmer-Hutchins High School. Thank God that there were no fatalities, that these individuals get to heal and become better. So shout out to our young people who I know are resilient and going to bounce back from this. And listen, I've got many calls from individuals, many text message inboxes just saying congratulations, thank you for stepping up with the family of the alleged shooter to facilitate that individual, that young man turning himself in. Let me say this, man, I'm no hero. We do this work because we believe in this work. And our stance as an organization is whenever senseless violence happens, no one wins. Whether it's the perpetrator who perpetrates the violence or whether it's the victim who is affected by the violence, nobody wins. Our community is destroyed. So my organization done what any other normal, rational-minded citizen of Dallas who love this city would do.
So I agree with him. Nobody wins. Certainly the perpetrator's family doesn't win. The perpetrator doesn't win. And we all know the victims lose and the victim's family loses. But I think there's levels of how much you are losers and winners and all of those types of things. And the victims are on a different level to me, which is why I believe that a scene like this, shaking hands of officers, shaking the hands, is completely unacceptable. That scene to me is unacceptable. I understand that the family of the suspect loses, but ultimately these victims shouldn't have to be sitting in a hospital with gunshot wounds. And you don't need cops shaking hands with a mass shooter. And again, I promise you, this is only because he's black. If he was white, now I will acknowledge this. If he was white or it was my son, I would have had an attorney for him present when my son was turning himself in. I would have brought him directly to the police station, and I would have probably tried to arrange to have had him brought in a side door where there was no media or anything like that. Now, is that white privilege, or is that money that allows that, or is it just smarts that's going to say, hey, I'm going to bring him in, but I need to facilitate this way. Maybe I take him to the district attorney's office. But I'm not doing it on the street with 80 million cell phones videotaping the whole thing go down. And this happens, by the way, after we learn about the other shooting up in Frisco, the other stabbing up in Frisco, where you have Carmelo Anthony, a black kid, stabs Austin Metcalf in the heart. He admits this now to police, they say. He claims it's self-defense. He was sitting underneath the tent of the opposing team. Metcalf says, hey, move. Some kind of scuffle ensues. And Carmelo Anthony pulls out a knife and, according to him, stabs him in the heart in self-defense. Now, what are you bringing a knife to a track meet for? You know that almost $500,000 was raised in defense of Carmelo Anthony. Now, you tell me if it was the other way around. If a white kid sat under the black kid's tent and the white kid said he's not moving, and then the black kid put hands on the white kid and the white kid stabbed the black kid in the heart, you telling me any of those people that donated to Carmelo Anthony would have donated to Austin Metcalf? A 100% zero. That's why the story becomes about race. Because every time you have a black criminal, they are made out to be some kind of a victim of society, a victim of their family situation, a victim of whatever they can find, other than a victim of themselves, and they're not acting right. There's no self-accountability whatsoever when these kinds of things happen. So Carmelo Anthony's family then moves into a gated community in Frisco, Texas, and Frisco is a nice suburb, into a $900,000 house, paying $3,500 a month rent, I read in the Dallas Express, and apparently they bought a new SUV. I don't know if they used the GoFundMe money for any of this. So it's possible they did. I don't know. But it doesn't make any sense because they were financially challenged leading up to this, and now they're moving into a gated community and have a brand new SUV. While their son's bond was lowered from $1 million to $250,000. All of that should be a problem for everybody involved. All right, folks, let me tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is where I would like you to go. This is my Patriot Mobile phone. It has Patriot Mobile service on my iPhone, and I'm so grateful. 100% U.S.-based customer service. Switching is so easy. It takes minutes to activate your phone with these eSIM cards now. They've got a performance guarantee because you can choose what network you want to be on. So if you're not happy with the AT&T network, you just switch this phone to the Verizon network, and you're paying Patriot Mobile, who then is pushing conservative causes, pushing things that move America in the correct direction, not like the woke left and Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile that are funding DEI initiatives and Planned Parenthood and all the rest. So a parallel economy is what this is about, but it's really about a better service. And Patriot Mobile will give you that better service. I urge you to check them out. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's PatriotMobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT is the number. 972-PATRIOT. You tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right. All right, so with that, we do have a real problem with kids today. I'm just looking at some of the comments in the Rumble chat. If Carmelo Anthony gets convicted, guess what? BLM 2025 ensues. At least it's entirely being set up that way. That from Craig Muttley. Craig, good to see you in the chat again. I think it's been a little while. Hagen Grog says the problem we have with kids today is usually in their hand. The internet or at your fingertips is too much for undeveloped, immature minds that are easily influenced by other immature individuals. I do think that social media, entertainment, Hollywood promote a culture of violence. Now, back to Craig Muttley's comment on BLM going to be rising up with this Carmelo Anthony situation, the black kid who stabbed the white kid in the heart. I'm not sure that's going to happen because the indications that I'm getting is that there's video evidence of the crime. And the video evidence does not look good for Carmelo Anthony at all. And Black Lives Matter is not going to be able to overcome that. Okay? When you see that someone is there maybe moving someone off and they end up taking a knife and stabbing you in your heart. You know, if it went to fisticuffs, okay. That's how it used to be settled when I was in high school. I never had to worry about being shot or stabbed. But in this day and age, you do. And that's a very, very sad situation. This was portrayed as Tracy Haynes. I'm not actually sure it is him in this vehicle, but I'm going to play it for you because it shows you the mind of young black men after they're involved in a crime and what they're thinking. Now, I'm not sure this is Tracy Denard Haynes, the one responsible for the Wilmer-Hutchins shooting. The internet is saying it is him. To me, it doesn't matter. It's a bigger story about the mind of our young black youths today.
I love all my peoples, man. Nigga told me he was gonna kill me. All these niggas told me they was gonna kill me. Look what happened. I love my Sandra. I love the nigga behind this camera. I love Yana. I love my nieces and nephews. All of them. I want everybody to know I love them. People named that I didn't name, trust me, I love you. I can't think right now, but I love y'all. This is my last time fuck around be seeing y'all. Last time talking to y'all, excuse my language, but I love y'all. I know I was wrong for what I did, but I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. I'll be damned if one of us get buried again. I'm tired of us getting buried and nobody doing shit about it. My mama gone, My granny gone. Everybody gone that I love. So I can't go. I can't go. I'd rather y'all see me like this, locked up, than y'all see me dead in the ground. And I know that's really what y'all, come on now. I know y'all don't want to see me dead. Come on now. Cause kill myself, but I know that's not what y'all want me to do. So let's be for real, y'all. I love y'all.
So I play that to you to get in the mind of what that young man is thinking. Now, whatever that person did, if that's Tracy Denard Haynes as it's being portrayed on the internet, he just shot 4 kids at school. If that's not Tracy Denard Haynes, that kid is admitting to doing something violent that he shouldn't have done. But more than that, I want to get in the head. I can't bury anybody else anymore. What have I told you? When those on the left call me a racist, I tell you I'm not a racist. I want nothing more than the violence to end in these inner cities. I do not want young people putting their heads on pillows and hearing gunshots at night. I don't want that. Nobody should have to grow up that way. Everything I do when it comes to stories like this and pushing stories like this is about raising awareness to get elected leaders, to get community members, to try to bring religion back, to try to bring the family unit back, to try to bring fathers back, try to bring common sense back, try to enforce the law back, have accountability for your actions back. So ultimately we can stop the violence. This kid says, I don't want to bury anybody else. My assumption is he was threatened by others, this kid that I just showed you, and he went to take care of that because he doesn't want to die. So that would be self-defense, even though it's the worst decision possible. You got to go to the cops if somebody's threatening you. But you don't want to do that in the hood because they'll kill you over going to the cops. So now you're in this burgeoning underclass, a circle where you can't escape it. This kid's only choice in his mind was to go shoot the people threatening him. In his mind, he thought that was the only choice. There was no way out from where he was. I would like to offer up, is there not a place he could go? Could we not get him out of the community into a school for troubled kids someplace? There's got to be. For people that want to escape it, that want to stop the killing, there's got to be a place for these kids to go, a safe haven. And if we don't have one of those places, we need to find a place or fund a place so this doesn't happen again. But I think literally they jumped to the idea of violence in a heartbeat. And you can't be jumping to violence like that. You just can't. Craig Butley again writes, Grant, way out the George Floyd case turned into St. Floyd of fentanyl with statutes set a self-defense case. He was black and they were white. True. But remember what I just said. The video evidence of Carmelo Anthony is not going to be favorable for Carmelo Anthony. The video evidence of George Floyd was very favorable for George Floyd. I don't think it proved the cops killed him, but I have common sense and I know what self-defense is and I know what cops go through. I think there was some negligence that the cop needed to sit George Floyd up because when you are on drugs, that stuff starts to collect in your lungs and you can suffocate yourself when you're on your stomach like that. So the video evidence against George Floyd was really bad from a public relations standpoint. It wasn't good. Okay? And I don't think the cop is guilty of murder. I really don't in that case. But this is going to be overwhelmingly in support, I believe, of Metcalf, Austin Metcalf. And that's going to be the difference here when it comes to why Black Lives Matter is going to be cut off at the knees. Now, think about this, though. You're telling me Black Lives Matter coming out and defending these types of people, which they do. And then you got the white guilt senator, Chris Van Hollen, from Maryland, who goes to El Salvador to bring back an MS-13 gang member, who we now have more documents. Remember, I was the first yesterday. This is why you should tune into this podcast. We were the first to show you the documents that proved he was an MS-13 gang member. Then Department of Justice releases more documents. Then we get documents that he was a wife beater. But what does Chris Van Hollen do? He goes to El Salvador to try to bust him out, get his release to bring him back to the United States. We don't want him.
This is an unsustainable and unjust moment, so it cannot continue this way. I also told his wife and family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here.
Well, that didn't go well, meeting with him. He didn't meet with him because the El Salvadorian government wouldn't let him meet with him. And good, because this president of El Salvador, Bukele, is great. I love the guy. Not so much for Van Hollen. This senator says more are coming. Cory Booker, Spartacus, he wants to go down to El Salvador. I heard Adam Schiff is talking about going down there. Why are you picking an MS-13 guy as your poster boy?
So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia.
So the questions are being
And he
translated.
said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT.
All right. This is a ridiculous press conference. And why is he talking like he's at a Chinese restaurant? And he's ordering with the accent of the Chinese, trying to make the English super simple so they can translate. You got a translator there. You don't need to do that. Watch how dumb this guy is.
I said I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia.
Everything is very simple because I'm worried they can't translate. Just talk like a normal human being. Because you're not talking to them, you're talking to us, you ding-dong. But this is their United States senators making a poster boy out of an MS-13 wife beater. Now, you know we like this guy over on CNN, Scott Jennings. He's one of the few good ones over there. This is what he said about the Democrats' quest to bring Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man, a.k.a. gang member, wife beater, back home.
More than happy to hear the congressman say they're all going to El Salvador. I think for Republicans, this just confirms what we have believed about the Democratic Party and why it currently has a 21% approval rating in Congress. Look where the energy in the Democratic Party is. It's around retrieving illegal aliens from El Salvador. It's around fighting for these college campuses that have been rife with anti-Semitism. It's around biological males who want to play in girls' sports. This is why they are losing to Donald Trump every day, because the energy that Democrats feel comes on all these issues that are fundamentally not where the American people are.
It's true. They're on the wrong side of everything, and they have no policies that they can push. So they'll jump at anything they can. If they sense a mistake from the Trump administration, they'll jump on it. Look at tariffs. It was Democrats and Nancy Pelosi that was pushing tariffs on China and to get tough, including Chuck Schumer. And now all of a sudden, because President Trump did it, he's enemy number one. You got Gavin Newsom suing the Trump administration over these tariffs. When I'm telling you right now, Gavin Newsom, do you know why he's mad about the tariffs? Because his Plump Jack wine, yes, he's a high-end winemaker. Big money for this Plump Jack stuff. I promise you, China is a huge importer of Plump Jack. And Gavin Newsom knows his pocket is going to be really, really twisted with these tariffs and Plump Jack wine going to China. That's why he's mad. This is about his own pocketbook, not the American people and national security. So while all of this is going on with Abrego Garcia and the Maryland man who they want so desperately home, who's married, remember, I would argue that he is home. El Salvador is his home, and that's where we returned him to because he had a deportation order. At the news conference yesterday, Patty Morin, the mom of Rachel Morin, who was brutally murdered, a Maryland woman, murdered by an El Salvadorian gang member here illegally, spoke. And it was very powerful. And do you know CNN and MSNBC cut away from it? They didn't cover this. And they covered normally Caroline Leavitt's news briefings every day, but not when Patty Morin speaks. Of all the times you'd want to take it, it would be this.
She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards. Victor Martinez, he waited for her. He waited for her to come closer. He saw her. He saw that there was nobody around. He attacked her. He dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. it left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. But before he did that, he stopped on that trail, and rocks, still stained with her blood, he used them to hammer her head against those rocks. They say at least 20 times they could count the cuts in her head. They said that when they did the autopsy, and I've seen the pictures, there's a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull is shattered the way that you would crush an eggshell.
And the reality is, it never should have happened. Because her killer should have never been in the United States. Now, I saw a stat that there was no coverage of the trial of Rachel Borid's killer. And we've already got hours of coverage of Abrego Garcia. But this is the story the American people need to hear, the damage illegal alien MS-13 gang members and other violent aliens can do.
In pieces. 3/4 of her brain hemorrhaged. Her right and left side of her face bashed in. Her beautiful face bashed in. Her head bashed in. Broken bones, fractures. He takes and he drags her some more. He drags her through the thorn bushes. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. She had a fractured rib, fractured nose, fractured skull.
Did you wonder what the mainstream media is doing right now? Those in the press briefing room that are so hell-bent on fighting their poster boy, Abrego Garcia, the great man from El Salvador, who's a father of 3, who, by the way, was kicked out of the house, not by the wife, but by a judge to keep the wife safe after he bruised and battered her, not allowed back in his own home. But this is the man they're fighting for. I don't know how they pick and choose poster boys. I really don't. But Abrego Garcia, this was a dumb move on their part. Now they've got to sit and they've got to listen to this poor mother who's gone through hell and back explain why it's not a good idea to have illegal aliens in this country that turn out to be very, very violent.
And then he takes her into the tunnel and he picks her up. He throws her against the wall. Blood is gushing from her head. Her hair is soaked in blood. And they showed us pictures of her body against the wall, outlined. The blood outlined her body. And you could see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more.
I owe it to her to listen to everything. The media owed it to her to carry this live, and they didn't do it because they know it doesn't play well for them. So at the end of this, Caroline Levitt says, any questions? You know how you know this worked? No questions. Not one question. Mainstream media stunned into silence. They're supposed to be the voice of the voiceless. Well, guess what? Rachel Morin's voice is voiceless. She's dead. She's 6 feet below the ground. Thanks to an illegal who never should have been here. That's the voiceless the media ought to be speaking for. The voiceless the media ought to be speaking for are people like my son, my girlfriend's kids, people that could be the next victim of a illegal alien drunk driver that shouldn't have been in the country but decided to get behind the wheel. That's how most of them kill innocent Americans. I understand American citizens do it too. But the real slap in the face on this is that the illegal ones never should have been here. So it wouldn't have happened if we had a secure border. Man, oh man, Joe Biden is a serial killer when you think about it. He really is. A serial killer. All right. As we continue here, I want to play another clip here. this is at Marjorie Taylor Greene's. This is just to show you how crazy the left is. This is at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall the other night. We carried it live on my Real America's Voice show. The left is violent. I'm telling you, they are the party of violence. You do not see this from Republicans at a Nancy Pelosi town hall or an Adam Schiff town hall. Do you hear Republicans yelling? Yes. We may yell, we may scream, but we don't get violent, and we don't do this with police officers. This is an all-out brawl for those of you that aren't watching on the Rumble but are just listening in audio-wise. Got the taser out. He refuses to give up, and he keeps fighting. And there you hear the taser. And again, this is at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall in Cobb County, Georgia.
This is a peaceful town hall. Now, this is a peaceful town hall, ladies and gentlemen. This should not have to happen. This is a town hall. So I'd like to start with our first video.
No, that shouldn't happen. It's outrageous that it does. But again, that's what you get from those on the left. All right, I want to play one clip from Stephen A. Smith here in a moment. Pretty amazing. It looks like he's going to run for president. This is the sportscaster. I don't know what qualifications he has to be president of the United States. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the wellness company. We talk about the tariff war going on with China. That's the one I'm real concerned about. I think President Trump's going to get deals with everybody else, and it's going to be minimal, the impact. China, not so much. Unless China smartens up, we're going to see prescription medication shortages. 85% of our ingredients for prescription medications come from China, which is why you need one of these kits in your household. These kits, all right, will keep you and your family safe. And I promise you, you need one. Amoxicillin in here, other antibiotics in here, including ivermectin, the antiparasitic that has turned out to be a miracle drug. You get that in here, and if you use it, you just call them up, you get a refill for the prescription, and you have prescription medications on hand. TWC.health/grant. 10% off if you use the promo code GRANT. TWC.health/grant. That's where you go. And if you don't have one of those, folks, I'm telling you, you're not prepared. You can have all the food and ammunition and water and power you want, but if you don't have prescription medications too, you're not prepared. All right. Stephen A. Smith. The man says he may run for president now. Do you think that he will? Let me find him. Here it is. Here he is.
See, when I think about the Republicans, I think the Republicans are asking us, particularly Trump, trust me. And by the way, he's in a position to do it because he won the popular vote. He won the electoral college vote. He won every swing state. He won both houses of Congress. He's got a majority 6-3 in the Supreme Court. I mean, damn. Americans didn't just give it to him. He took it because he recognized what the left wasn't doing. They were preoccupied with nonsense.
See, this is why he's a likable guy, because he's a self-described Democrat who does have some common sense about him. He sees the reasons why Trump won. He doesn't call all of us delusional cult-like members, racists, Nazis. He sees why Donald Trump appeals to Americans because of his policies and what he's doing. And for that, he's likable, unlike most Democrats who are very unlikable.
You want to ask why Stephen A. Smith felt the need to speak up at the NAB conference? Let me ask y'all this question. We supposed to leave it to Bernie Sanders and AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? We're supposed to leave it with individuals that will tell you that it's perfectly okay to tax 70% of your money? Not that they gave out that number. I'm just speculating because of how socialistic they are in their thinking. We're supposed to say that that's okay? Y'all okay with that? You okay with going to work and making $100 and walking home with 30? You sure about that? Are you cool with it? Just tell me. Because these are the kind of questions that we have to ask ourselves. That is why I spoke up. I am an independent. That's who I am. I'm not on either side. I'm not on both sides. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm creating my own lane. I have no desire to be on either side. Donald Trump has his acolytes. He has his surrogates. He has people in the bullpen. It could be a Marco Rubio. It could be a J.D. Vance. It could be somebody that we don't even know coming from the Republican Party. I sincerely doubt it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can tell you that much. But they got people on the right. That's why everybody talks about me on the left. It's not just because I voted Democrat and I voted for Kamala Harris. It's because that's the side I see myself on. But you're kind of wrong about that, too, because I don't.
So which is it, Stephen A. Smith? See, this is the problem when I start to really get bothered by him. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm a registered independent, but I voted for Kamala Harris and Barack Obama and Joe Biden. But I'm a registered independent. I'm not on either side, but I am. But I see myself on their side, but I'm not on their side. You're right about that. You're wrong about that. Give me a break, dude. So nobody likes somebody who waffles in the wind. Pick a side and go with it. In many respects, I actually think you're more to the Republican side than you are the Democrat side. I'm sure on social issues like abortion, you're going to be a left-wing extremist. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you surprise me. But you don't sound like a Democrat.
When I think about me, and I think about me running for president of the United States, let me re-emphasize that I am woefully unqualified. But a lot of people say so is he. And you put him in.
So is who? Donald Trump? You think Donald Trump's unqualified? He was already president for the first 4 years. So that's about the best qualification you can get. He runs a multi-billion-dollar organization. Got tens of thousands of people under his employment. How are you saying President Trump is not qualified to be president of the United States? If anybody was qualified to be president of the United States, it is Donald J. Trump. Now, I would also offer up that Stephen A. Smith is unqualified to be president of the United States, too. But I do think he's a smart guy. I think he's well engaged. He probably runs a nice business. This Stephen A. Smith Inc., which is like Grant Stinchfield Inc., his is probably much bigger than mine. But it takes a little bit to run a business. He'd be a formidable candidate. I can tell you that much because he's going to appeal to a lot of people, young people especially. And right now, Democrats don't have anybody appealing to young people. And I mean nobody. And you know why that is? That's because of this guy.
I remember pulling into the parking lot. And I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time and I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claymont High School. I wondered.
Colored kids? You realize it's 2025, Joe. You just called them colored kids. Now, we had a caller into the radio program that says, oh, no, he was reading off the side of the bus. First off, what bus writes colored kids on the side of the bus? I don't think so. So let's just play it over again to make sure old racist Joe really said what I think he said.
I'd never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time and I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claymont High School.
I remember seeing kids going by called colored kids on a bus going by. So the person tried to argue it was written colored kids on the bus. That's not what he is saying here. And by the way, he doesn't need to remind us the names they called black people back in the day. But this is basically what Joe Biden does. Well, later on in this speech, he gets angry and he starts yelling.
Hey, honey, it's going to be okay and mean it. Well, that's what you're all about. That's what the legislation is about. It's about dignity. Simple dignity.
Oh, boy.
Everyone,
oh, boy,
deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of the economic situation, regardless of who they are. Making sure that more than 60 million Americans who are living with disabilities are treated with dignity.
Dignity, I said. Everyone out there. Oh, gosh. Can I tell you, honestly, I miss the sound bites from Joe Biden Boy, we used to have so much fun every day. Now, he ruined the country. We're getting it back, though. He did a lot of destruction. We have people killed because of him, but man, oh man, he gave some doozy sound bites, didn't he? And they were awful fun to play. You know who else is fun to play sound bites from? This guy.
And I remember that with Biden.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Look, he was the worst president in the history of our country, and we've had some bad ones, but there was never anybody like this. I don't even know if he was president because he didn't know where the hell he was.
Was Jill running the White House?
You know, look, she was certainly involved because he gave her the last meeting to preside over with the cabinet meeting.
Was she the auto pen?
No, I don't think so. She was. They had a lot of bad people. They had a lot of radical left lunatics in there, and I think he was perfect.
I love President Trump. Worst president in history Joe Biden was, and he doesn't have any qualms about saying it. Folks, y'all are great, and I appreciate you. Hey, we're taking a day off tomorrow for Easter Sunday. And we'll be back on Monday for you. But we got the Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Don't forget to tune in to that. And I'd ask you, that's Patriot Mobile. Go to Patriot Mobile, too, for sure. But go to the website, GrantStinchfield.com. All the podcasts are put up there. Go to the website, GrantStinchfield.com. Sign up for the email list. If you got questions for me, too, there's a box you fill in. All those come directly to me. And I try to answer all the questions. I really do. I'm grateful to all of you. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Have yourself a fabulous Easter weekend. And then we'll see you back here Monday. But before that, I hope I see you on the Real America's Voice show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. God bless all of you. We'll see you soon.